Madison looked at my worn-out sneakers and announced loudly, "Some people should know their place and not embarrass themselves at events like this." The entire gym watched as I quietly left. Years later, when we met again, I was shocked. Hello everyone. If you're subscribed, let's dive right into this story. This tale will absolutely infuriate you. But don't worry, justice will be served in the end. Ready? Let's begin. Don't forget to hit that like button. I absolutely love reading your amazing comments. I'm Marcus, and I'm 33 years old now. This story takes place during my senior year of high school, in a small town outside of Chicago. To understand what happened, you need to know about the social dynamics of our school. Madison Williams was what you'd call the queen bee of our high school. Her father owned the largest car dealership in town, and her mother was a prominent real estate agent. They lived in the nicest neighborhood, drove luxury cars, and Madison never let anyone forget about her family's wealth. I, on the other hand, came from the complete opposite background. My dad worked double shifts at a factory, and my mom cleaned houses to make ends meet. We lived in a small apartment on the wrong side of town, and I wore hand-me-down clothes and second-hand shoes because that's all we could afford. Despite our different backgrounds, I was a good student. I maintained a 4.0 GPA, was on the debate team, and had already been accepted to State University with a partial academic scholarship. But in high school, academic achievement doesn't always translate to social status, especially when you're competing against old money and family connections. Madison had always been aware of my existence, but only in the way that popular kids are aware of the lesser students around them. She'd never been outright cruel to me, but there was always this underlying condescension in any interaction we had. That all changed on the night of our senior prom. Prom was a big deal at our school, like it is at most high schools. For weeks, everyone talked about their dresses, their dates, their after-party plans. Madison, of course, was prom queen, a position that seemed predetermined from the moment she entered high school. I almost didn't go to prom. The cost of renting a tuxedo, buying a corsage, and paying for dinner was more than my family could comfortably afford. But my parents insisted. They said it was a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and that they'd figure out the money somehow. My mom found a tuxedo at a thrift store that mostly fit me. It was a little outdated, and the pants were slightly too short, but it was clean and presentable. My dad lent me his old dress shoes, which were scuffed but polished to a shine. My mom even bought me a corsage for my date Jenny, a sweet girl from my chemistry class who came from a similar background. I felt good about how I looked, not fancy but respectable. I thought that was enough. I was wrong. The prom was held in our school gymnasium, which had been decorated with balloons and streamers in our school colors. There was a DJ, a photo booth, and tables with punch and cookies. It wasn't elaborate, but it felt special to those of us who had never been to anything fancier. Madison arrived fashionably late, as expected. She wore a dress that probably cost more than my family's monthly rent, and her date was driving a car that was definitely worth more than what my dad made in a year. She looked like she'd stepped out of a magazine. For the first hour or so, everything went smoothly. Jenny and I danced, talked with friends, and took pictures. I was actually having a good time and felt like I belonged there with everyone else. That changed when I went to get punch for Jenny and myself. I was standing at the refreshment table, filling 2 cups with punch, when I heard Madison's voice behind me. Oh my God, what is that smell? I turned around to see Madison and her group of friends looking in my direction with disgusted expressions. It smells like desperation and poverty, one of her friends said, and they all laughed. I tried to ignore them and continue with what I was doing, but Madison wasn't done. Marcus, she said, loud enough for people nearby to hear. I have to ask, what are you even doing here? What do you mean? I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Madison looked me up and down, her eyes stopping at my worn sneakers. I had forgotten to change into my dad's dress shoes after the pre-prom photos at Jenny's house. I mean, she said, her voice getting louder, some people should know their place and not embarrass themselves at events like this. The conversation around us stopped. People turned to look at what was happening. I felt my face burning with embarrassment. Look at those shoes, Madison continued, pointing at my feet. Did you dig those out of a dumpster? And that tuxedo, is that from the 1980s? Her friends giggled behind her hands. Other students were starting to gather around, drawn by the commotion. Madison, come on, Jenny appeared beside me, trying to defuse the situation. Let's just go dance. Oh Jenny, Madison said with fake sympathy. You're such a sweet girl, but you really could do better than this. She gestured at me like I was something unpleasant. You know what the real problem is? Madison continued, now addressing the growing crowd around us. People like Marcus think they can just show up anywhere and pretend they belong. But money talks, and some of us were raised with class, while others... She let the sentence hang in the air. I stood there, holding 2 cups of punch, while the entire junior and senior class watched Madison tear me down in front of everyone. I could see some students looking uncomfortable, but no one said anything to defend me. Maybe next time you'll think twice before showing up somewhere you clearly don't belong. Madison finished with a satisfied smile. The gym had gone almost completely quiet. Everyone was staring at me, waiting to see what I would do. I set down the cups of punch, took Jenny's hand, and walked toward the exit without saying a word. The ride home was humiliating. Jenny tried to comfort me, telling me that Madison was just being a mean girl, and that everyone knew I didn't deserve that treatment. But the damage was done. I felt like everyone at school would remember that moment, would remember Madison putting me in my place. When I got home, my parents asked how prom was. I told them it was fine and went straight to my room. I couldn't bring myself to tell them what had happened, couldn't let them know that their sacrifice to send me to prom had resulted in me being publicly humiliated. That night, lying in bed, I made a promise to myself. I would never again be in a position where someone like Madison could make me feel small. I would work harder, achieve more, and build a life where I'd never have to worry about someone questioning whether I belonged somewhere. I threw myself into my studies at State University. While my classmates were partying and enjoying the typical college experience, I was working part-time jobs and maintaining a perfect GPA. I graduated summa cum laude with a degree in business and immediately started working at a consulting firm in Chicago. During college, I occasionally heard updates about Madison through social media and mutual friends. She'd gone to an expensive private college on her parents' dime, majored in something like communications or art history, and seemed to be living the typical rich girl lifestyle of parties and vacations. After college, I heard she'd moved to California to find herself, and had bounced between various jobs in marketing and social media. Her posts showed a lifestyle of yoga retreats, expensive brunches, and whatever trend was popular at the moment. Meanwhile, I was building my career with single-minded determination. I worked 80-hour weeks, took on every challenging project, and networked relentlessly. Within 5 years, I'd been promoted 3 times and was managing my own team. By age 28, I'd left the consulting firm to start my own business. My company started small, just me and 2 employees working out of a shared office space. We specialized in helping small businesses optimize their operations and increase profitability. It wasn't glamorous work, but I was good at it, and word spread quickly about our results. Within 3 years, we'd grown to 25 employees and had landed several major corporate clients. By year 5, we had offices in Chicago, Milwaukee, and Indianapolis. I'd gone from the poor kid who got humiliated at prom to running a multi-million-dollar consulting firm. The success felt good, but it felt even better knowing that I'd earned every bit of it through hard work and determination. No family money, no connections, no shortcuts, just the drive to prove that Madison had been wrong about me. About a year ago, I started getting notifications about our 15-year high school reunion. I almost didn't go. I'd stayed in touch with a few people from high school, but most of my life now was focused on my business and the new relationships I'd built in Chicago. But something made me curious about seeing how everyone had turned out. I wanted to see if the popular kids had lived up to their high school promise, if the underdogs had found their footing, if the social hierarchies that had seemed so important at 18 still mattered at 33. The reunion was held at a hotel ballroom in our hometown. I drove down from Chicago in my Tesla, wearing a custom-tailored suit that cost more than my entire prom outfit. I wasn't trying to show off, this was just how I dressed for business now. But I'd be lying if I said there wasn't some satisfaction in the contrast with that 18-year-old kid in the thrift store tuxedo. I'd been at the reunion for about an hour, catching up with old friends and teachers. When I saw her across the room, Madison looked different. She was still attractive, but there was something tired about her appearance. Her dress was nice but not designer, her jewelry was modest, and she seemed to be trying too hard to project the same confidence she'd had in high school. I watched her for a few minutes before she noticed me. When she did, I saw confusion cross her face as she tried to place who I was. After a moment, recognition dawned, followed quickly by what looked like panic. Madison made her way over to me, her smile bright but nervous. "Marcus, oh my God, I can't believe it's you. You look so different." "Hello, Madison," I said politely. "You look well." "Thank you. So what have you been up to? Are you still living around here?" "I live in Chicago now. I run a consulting firm there." "Oh, that's nice," she said, clearly trying to maintain the conversation. "I'm actually looking for new opportunities myself. I just moved back from California. The startup scene there is so competitive, you know?" I nodded, letting her continue. "I've been doing marketing and social media consulting for various companies. Really exciting stuff. I'm actually looking for something more stable now, maybe with a larger firm." That's when it clicked. Madison was unemployed and looking for work. Over the next few minutes, Madison's story came out in bits and pieces. The California adventure hadn't gone as planned. She'd burned through her trust fund, bounced between jobs, and had recently moved back in with her parents after a startup she'd been working for went under. She was currently job hunting and had been having trouble finding something that matched her expectations and lifestyle needs. "You know," she said, clearly working up to something, "I don't suppose your consulting firm is hiring? I mean, I have all this experience in marketing and social media, and I've always been good with people." I looked at Madison, the same person who had publicly humiliated me for not belonging, who had told me I should know my place, who had made me feel worthless in front of our entire class, asking me for a job. "Actually," I said slowly, "We are hiring for a marketing position. You should submit an application through our website." Madison's face lit up with relief and gratitude. "Really? Oh my God, that would be amazing. Do you think you could put in a good word for me?" "I'll make sure your application gets proper consideration," I said. Madison's application arrived the following Monday. Her resume revealed exactly what I'd suspected: a series of short-term positions with no real accomplishments, gaps explained as personal development, and salary expectations that were completely unrealistic for someone with her track record. But I gave her an interview anyway. She showed up nervous, overdressed, and still carrying that same entitled attitude from high school. When I asked about her qualifications, she talked about understanding the right demographic and helping us attract more sophisticated clients. Even 15 years later, Madison was still dividing people into categories of who belonged and who didn't. At the end of the interview, she seemed confident she'd get the job. After all, we'd gone to high school together. Instead, I sent her a standard rejection letter. When she called to ask why, I reminded her of prom night. "You told me I should know my place and not embarrass myself at events where I didn't belong," I said. "Marcus, that was 15 years ago. We were just kids." "You were right then, Madison. I didn't belong at that prom. But here's what you didn't understand. Belonging isn't about where you come from. It's about what you build for yourself." I know that now. Do you? Because in your interview, you still talked about the right demographic and sophisticated clientele. You're still deciding who belongs and who doesn't. I've changed, maybe, but now I'm the one who gets to decide who belongs in my company. And based on your qualifications, your attitude, and yes, how you treated me when we were 18, I've decided you don't belong here. Madison thought she was putting me in my place that night at prom. What she actually did was show me what I was capable of when I stopped caring about fitting into other people's definitions of where I belonged. 15 years later, I'd built a life where I didn't need anyone's approval, and when Madison came looking for a place in the world I'd created, I got to be the one who decided whether she belonged. The answer was no. Success isn't just the best revenge, it's the only revenge that truly matters. Have you ever had someone underestimate you and lived to regret it? Share your story in the comments. Sometimes the best way to prove someone wrong is to simply succeed. And don't forget to subscribe for more real-life stories about karma, justice, and the sweet satisfaction of proving the doubters wrong.